So now in this video, what we're going to do is to write the code that is supposed to talk to the database and insert a sales record whenever we have them. Although we've not created any sales record before, but we expect this method to take a sales record object and then insert it into the database using SQL queries. So how do we go about doing that? So we need to go about doing that by instantiating an instance of this guy here, database DAO. Recall, this is like our main guy. So we instantiate database DAO. This guy is like the backbone of this application, isn't it? So we say database DAO. Okay, so that's the name of the object, which is an instance of this class. Let's import this class to avoid any error. It's imported from com.and use ourselves as database DAO. And here is the import statement here. So we've declared it and we should instantiate it with its constructor. So we instantiate that and a semicolon. So now that we've instantiated that, we will now need to use that object database DAO to open up a connection to the database. So I'm going to use the try with resources block, and try with resources allows us to automatically close closable resources like JDBC connections when we declare or open them up. So we are going to simply write this code database DAO.get database connection that we just wrote, and that will throw SQL exception. So we'll have to we need to import connection first, and that will throw SQL exception. So we have to add the throws clause for java.sql exception, and we need to now we need to now declare the SQL statement to be equal to a string to hold the query that we are going to write to get the SQL statement. Alright, so I don't really like typing my SQL statements right here in this method. I like writing another method to be called to retrieve the SQL statement so that maintenance can be easier for me. So I'm going to declare another method that is going to be private because there is no need for this method to be accessible outside this class. So this method is going to be called insert sales record SQL, and this method is simply going to contain a declaration of a string SQL to be equal to. Now the string that we're going to write is simply to talk to this table, okay, an SQL statement to insert into this table. So it is important in this case to be familiar with the structured query language and be able to use it to insert records. So here we go. The SQL statement is going to be insert into app.sales_records. Recall that's the name of the table that we are dealing with, app.sales_records. So insert into app.sales_records. We need to mention the fields that we are going to insert into the sales records table. The fields that we're going to insert are the invoice number, the description, the price sold, and the customer name. We are not going to insert the serial number because if you can recall the table structure, that the serial number is supposed to be the primary key and generated automatically. Okay, that's generated always as identity, so we don't want to generate it to avoid conflict. So let's recall again: invoice number, description, price sold, customer name. Okay, alright, here we go. So that's it. No, that's not it. We will also need to complete this SQL statement because it wasn't complete. Insert into app the sales records, invoice number, description, price sold, and customer name. Then the values. Now I plan to use a prepare statement in JDBC, so I will simply put placeholders here. I'm sure you guys are familiar with this if you are familiar with JDBC. Alright, so that's going to be our SQL statement. Insert into app the sales record, invoice number, description, price sold, customer name, and then we put the 4 fields placeholders, and return SQL. So that's all. Alright, so anytime I want to manage this, I can simply come to this method and do the job here, not messing up with this one. So I'll simply say string SQL equals get insert sales record SQL. Alright, the next thing that we're going to do is that I'm going to create a prepare statement, because according to how the SQL statement looks like, we have to use a prepare statement to fix these placeholders. So we are going to use a prepare statement, and a prepare statement is a feature in Java's JDBC which allows us to avoid repetition in SQL execution, and it is also a security check, an ultimate security feature in blocking SQL injection. SQL injection is what most hackers like me use in breaking in blindly to someone's database by if you provide a form for me and your form data is not properly sanitized, then one can use that form to inject SQL statements. As that form of hacking is called SQL injection. So it's good to know that, so that you can be able to prevent that using prepare statement. Okay, so that's how you do it. Prepare statement PSA equals conduct prepare statement, then you pass in the SQL statement that you're going to use, which is retrieved from a call to this method. So the next thing that we're going to do is to set the parameters of the prepare statement, because we have 4 parameters over here, and then we have to set the parameters of the prepare statement. Also, it's important to know what are going to be the data types of those parameters, which is not going to be difficult. I'm going to show you that. So here we go. We're going to say pst.set string. We're saying set string in this first parameter. The parameter index is going to be 1, because the invoice number is going to be a string. We will pass the sales record object dot get invoice number, which is a string. Okay, so what you are going to pass in as the value of the parameter, the data type that you are going to get, which is get invoice number, is going to return a string. If you look at sales record, you see that invoice number is a string, so it's get invoice number will return a string. Okay, so I think I'm going too far. So pst dot set string parameter 2, and that will be the description. So sales record dot get description, pst dot set, this time we're gonna set double, and that will take parameter 3, and sales record dot get price sold. Of course, price sold is a double, and the last but not the least is set string parameter 4, sales record dot get customer name. Alrighty, so what we're going to do now is to execute this statement by saying pst dot execute. We are updating, because when we insert, you need to call execute update. You can see it here in the documentation that execute SQL statement, this prepare statement object, which must be an SQL data manipulation language statement such as insert, update, or delete. So whenever you are doing either insert, update, or delete, you use execute update. Okay, now also recall, let's back up a little bit. Execute update returns an int. So that is the value of the result of executing this update. And if you are familiar with SQL statements, if you update or insert something, it tells you how many rows is affected. Okay, so we will declare an int, call it update, to be equal to pst.execute update. So we expect one row to be affected because this method will only insert just one sales record object, one sales record into the database. So we expect update to be equal to 1. So we can check that up by saying if update equals 1, then return true, else return false. Alright, so you can see, because this method is going to return a boolean, and that was the plan. This method is either to tell us that execute it has inserted the sales record successfully, or it hasn't. As simple as that. Alright, so we're gonna stop there for now. That's how we're going to insert sales record into the database. Now the question might be, where are we going to use this method? We're going to use this method in the add cells dialog. When you click on save, we will have to create a sales record object by instantiating it, set its fields, and then pass it to this sales dao.insert sales record method, and that will be awesome. So that's it for this video. I hope you found this informative. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel in YouTube, and don't forget to check out our website, and hope to see you on the next tutorial.